In order to determine the properties of a trig function, it's helpful to refer back to a formula. So for instance, in part B here, we're given a cosine function with some modifications. The general formula might look something a little more like this. A cosine B times x minus c all plus d. Each of these can help us find certain parts of the function. So for instance, a here is the amplitude. And that actually helps us find things like the maximum, minimum, and average value. So here, for part B, the amplitude is 2. C is our phase shift. And I'll notice that our function in part B isn't quite factored in the way that the formula is. So let's factor it. We have y as equal to 2 cosine. Pi over 2 has been factored out of our x now, which means it's been divided to both terms. Pi divided by pi over 2 is just 2. That means our phase shift is just 2. The period, by contrast, can be calculated using b here. That is, period is always 2 pi over b. For us, b is pi over 2, as we can see over here. So 2 pi over 2, which is the same thing as 2 pi over 1 times 2 over pi, with some terms canceling out, and we get 4. Finally, there's the d, which is actually pretty easy. It's going to tell us just the shift of the midline. So the midline, instead of occurring at 0, is at y equals -3. All right, let's draw a picture of this graph then. So a normal cosine function starts at its maximum, then goes to its midline, to its minimum, midline, and then maximum again. Since our function is shifted by 2, we'll have to account for that, 2 to the right, but our pattern will still be the same. I like to draw the midline first at y equals -3, so I'll do that real quick. Let's redraw our graph. So that's going to be at -3. We're shifted to the right 2. So we'll start at our maximum. Notice our maximum should be 2, our amplitude, away from our midline. So it's going to be here at 1. Then we'll shift all the way down to our midline over the course, and then back again all the way at our maximum, 4 away, our period. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're back at our maximum. And our minimum, by contrast, goes down by 2, and that's found halfway in between. So about here. And a midline value, average value, is found halfway between those points. So halfway between 2, should be 2 here. Shift over our graph a little bit. And here means our graph looks a little bit like this. Oops, let's redraw that one more time. Something like that. Now, as for the points where it reaches its maximum, minimum, and average value, we can write those down. This should be 2, -1. This would be 3, -3. Here we have 4, -6, or -5, excuse me. Here we have 5, -3, and finally 6, -1.